Do you satisfy that evidence? Should you report the jury to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you got?
I do.
Sir, can you state your name for the record?
Jose, J-O-S-E, Reveles, R-E-V-E-L-E-S.
And, Mr. Reveles, how are you employed?
I am a police officer with the University of Texas Police in Houston.
And what rank, if any, do you hold with that organization?
Currently, I hold the rank of sergeant.
All right. How long have you been in law enforcement?
I've been in law enforcement 35 years. I did 28 years with the city of El Paso, in El Paso, Texas.
And what type of responsibilities did you have in El Paso with the police department there?
I did various assignments. I did assignments in patrol. I was a supervisor. I also had assignments in SWAT, the gang unit, elements like that.
Now, focusing on your employment with the Texas Medical University Police Department, what do you do currently?
Currently, I'm assigned as a training sergeant. In 2014, I was part of the threat management unit.
All right, what is the threat management unit?
The threat management unit is a unit within our department that oversees and assesses threats and risks to our employees.
Do you know Holly Campbell?
Yes, I do.
All right, and now she is Holly Smook, is that correct?
Correct.
And how do you know her?
I know her because her case came before our unit.
Okay, when you say her case came before your unit, can you tell the jury how that happened?
That happened when her supervisor contacted our department to notify us that her state keys were missing. And when we contacted Ms. Smoot, or Holly, we found out that her husband had taken those keys during a domestic assault that happened in Brazoria County.
So where are you assigned? Where do you work?
I work at the Texas Medical Center in Houston, Texas.
Would that include MD Anderson?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And what would be your jurisdiction, I guess, in a case like this that is in Brazoria County?
Well, as state peace officers, we are state peace officers with the University of Texas System Police. I have jurisdiction throughout the state.
And is that similar to the state police?
Yes. But mainly the jurisdiction is on that campus, but we worked concurrently with the criminal case that Brazoria County had filed on Mr. Campbell.
So, in a case such as Ms. Spooks, what would you do, or what did you do?
So what we did, we interviewed her and determined the level of threat to her, as well as to the rest of the employees at MD Anderson. And based on our investigation and our interviews with Holly, we determined that we needed to develop a protective plan for her.
All right, and what is a protective plan?
What we did is we basically made her disappear from the scrolls of MD Anderson, even though she was still employed there. When she came to find a new place to live after she moved out of the women's shelter, we contacted that local department and advised them of the situation since they patrol that area, and we kept communication with that department as long as she was at that apartment and she was under our protective plan. Part of that plan also, we changed where she was parking her vehicle, so we made her park closer to our department and we escorted her to her building.
Now, when you say that as part of your plan, you made her disappear from the scrolls, was she concerned about anybody in particular knowing where she was? Yes,
she was concerned that her husband, Edward Campbell, might come back and hurt her some more or even kill her.
Okay. Anybody else?
She included her two oldest stepsons, Eric and Nicholas.
And why?
Because they were close to Edward.
So did this safety plan include safeguards to prevent all three of them from knowing where Holly Smook was?
Yes, it did.
Now, At the time this safety plan is being developed, where was Edward Campbell?
He was in jail in Brazoria County.
All right. At some point, did that change?
It changed in December.
All right. Do you recall the date?
I want to say on or about the 8th of December.
And what did you do on the 8th of December, if you remember?
We just found out that he had posted bond.
Okay.
And then later, a week to 10 days later, we found out that there was a hearing, and my supervisor at the time, Kevin Gray, he escorted Holly to that hearing.
What happened at that hearing, if you know?
They revoked his bond because he failed to show up. So therefore, he was wanted again. So later in December, on Christmas Eve, is when I decided to go surveil the house. Sergeant Gray also assisted me, and we were watching the house in Alvin, Texas.
All right. Why would you go to the house in Alvin, Texas?
We thought that'd be a good place to locate him, pick him up on the warrant.
Locate who?
Edward Campbell.
Okay. Now, during your law enforcement career, have you been on other attempts to serve process?
Yes.
All right. Can you tell the jury what would be your standard operating procedure about trying to bring somebody to justice like that?
So we'll try to find out where they can be located. In this case, his house. We also look for him at his oldest boy's house, Nicholas's house. At the time, he had an apartment in Friendswood, Texas. So basically, you just start watching those areas to see if you see that person in question, and then you take them and arrest them.
Now, what types of things or what kind of support would someone that is trying to evade capture, what would they need?
They would need a place to stay, or like camping equipment to go, stay out of the city and camp out somewhere. They would need money. They would need support, probably from family members.
Were you ever able to locate Edward Campbell?
No, not on Christmas Eve. I did not locate Edward Campbell.
And other than Christmas Eve, was any other time when you made a concerted effort to try to find him?
Well, after we knew that he was wanted, it was a continued effort trying to bring him back into custody for the welfare of Holly Campbell.
Right. As you said, also the welfare of the other employees at MD Anderson, right?
Yes.
Because you did not want Edward Campbell coming to MD Anderson.
Right.
Now, you mentioned that you surveilled the house on December 24th. Which house is that?
That's the house in Alvin, Texas, the Indian Acres home.
Can you tell us about surveilling the house and what you saw and what you did?
So we watched the house. We got there about 6 o'clock in the morning, started watching the house, and it wasn't until maybe 10 o'clock that Edward's truck moved. His truck was in front of the house.
Why did you believe it to be Edward's truck?
Because the plates came back to Edward Campbell.
Okay, and what type of truck was it?
I believe it was a Toyota Tacoma. So we surveilled the house. We saw movement. Somebody got into the vehicle, but we're too far out to tell who did, and followed that truck from Alvin, Texas into downtown Houston, Texas, and the vehicle pulled into a rehab center. At that time, we initiated a contact with the driver of that vehicle. It turned out to be Eric Campbell.
Right. Now, taking you, just to clarify a couple points. Number one, from Alvin, Texas to downtown Houston, what is that distance?
I say we covered about 25, 30 miles.
Okay. And is that north of Alvin?
Alvin is, yes, the medical center, or downtown Houston is north of Alvin, Texas.
Okay. And you said a rehab center. What type of rehab center?
A rehab for injuries, because Eric told us when we made contact with him that he had been injured in a car accident.
Okay, so it didn't have anything to do with drugs or alcohol?
No, sir.
It was for physical therapy, as far as you knew?
Yes, sir.
What else did Eric say?
Eric said that he had not seen or heard from his father. And we verified that he did have an appointment at that rehab center. And after our conversation, and we were satisfied that maybe he didn't know that where his father was, Edward Campbell, we decided to break contact, let him go, finish with his appointment. And my parting words to Eric were to stay away from his father because he was going to get him in trouble.
Why did you want to tell him that?
Because his father was not wanted, and I didn't know how much support he was going to give his father.
Now, was Edward close to you when you said that?
Edward Campbell?
Excuse me, Eric close to you when you
Yes.
said that?
We were about 5-10 feet from each other having a conversation.
Did he acknowledge that he heard you?
Yeah. He didn't ask me to repeat it or anything else.
And you were confident that he understood you when you said he needs to stay away from Edward Campbell?
Yes. Stay away from Edward Campbell and to please leave Holly alone.
Okay. Why did you say to please leave Holly alone?
We had information that on one occasion, Nicholas was apparently seen on campus. I did not see him on campus, but Nicholas was seen on campus.
When you were meeting with Eric in downtown Houston, did Eric tell you that he had sold some things to help raise money for his father's bail?
They had talked about an effort of trying to raise money to bail him out. Yes.
Okay. And you say they?
Him and his brother, Nicholas.
On December 24th, after you had talked to Eric, were Edward Campbell's whereabouts unknown to you?
To me, unknown, yes.
Your Honor, we would tender Sergeant Revelis.
Sergeant Revelis, let me ask you a little bit about your investigation into this assault. The first thing you did was that meet with Ms. Campbell to discuss the assault? Or did you get background information, reports, and things like that?
I helped Sergeant Gray. It was mainly his case, and I basically helped him. So my first major involvement was working the details of the plan, the safety plan, and escorting Ms. Campbell from our area to her building, and then the surveillance that I actually pulled with Sergeant Gray out in Alvin, Texas.
And do your safety plans sometimes take into account the facts of the case?
Yes.
I mean, certainly it would be different between I'm mad at you, I'm going to hit you, than a severe assault.
Right.
And this was a severe assault, was it?
Yes, it was.
And it was a brutal assault, wasn't it?
Yes.
And you were very concerned for Ms. Campbell's safety.
Yes.
Now, when you say the campus, do you mean just the hospital or the surrounding area? I mean, what do you mean by that?
The campus?
You said campus.
Yes, we sit in the middle of the Texas Medical Center, but all the buildings there are not ours.
Oh, I see.
But we have several buildings spread out through the medical center.
So is the buildings that are spread out through the medical center, is that what you're calling the campus?
Yes.
And you set up surveillance to see if Edward Campbell or anybody else came to that area. Is that right?
At the Alvin address?
No, to the campus. I'm sorry.
To the campus?
Yes.
I never set surveillance on the campus. The only thing I did at the campus was escort Ms. Campbell
I see.
to her building.
Well, let me ask you, what I'm really getting at is there were no reports to you that Eric Campbell was on the campus.
No.
And in fact, the only time Ms. Campbell reported that she ran into Mr. Campbell was at their home. Is that right?
As far as I know, yes.
And she didn't express any concerns to you about their interactions at the home, did she?
No, she didn't.
Now, when you then set up surveillance on the Alvin residence on December 24th of 2014, is that right?
Correct.
Now, you said that it was around 10 o'clock when you saw something. Was it actually closer to 8:30? Would that make sense?
I don't believe it was 8:30. We were out there throughout various times of the day.
You have your report with you.
I don't have a copy with me right now, no.
What number is that? 10. You want to use a clean copy? May I approach you? Yes. Defendant's Exhibit number 10 for purposes of identification. Yes. Sergeant Revelis, would your report refresh your recollection about the actual times when you conducted surveillance and saw Mr. Campbell that day on the 24th?
Yes, it would.
Could you review that to yourself, please?
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes, it does.
And what time did you actually see Mr. Campbell?
It says here about approximately 9 o'clock in the morning.
And what time did you begin your surveillance?
At about 6 o'clock.
Do a traffic stop, put your blue light on, or just walk up and talk to him?
Yeah, we parked our vehicle behind him. He had parked in one of the parking spaces, and we walked up.
Did you turn your blue light on?
No.
Did you identify yourself as detectives or police officers?
Yes, we did.
And was he polite to you?
Yes, he was.
And he answered your questions?
Yes.
And he told you he was going to a medical appointment or an occupational therapy appointment at that time?
Correct.
Did he appear to go inside?
He did go inside.
And did you verify
Yes.
he actually had an appointment?
Yes.
You also warned him to stay away from Edward Campbell, didn't you? Is that right?
Yes.
And you warned him because being around his dad could get him in trouble, didn't you?
Right.
And also because Edward Campbell was a dangerous man, isn't that right?
Objection.
Or was a dangerous man?
He showed potential for violence, yes.
And just to be clear, this was on Christmas Eve, December 24th, at around 9 o'clock. Is that right?
Correct.
Nothing further.
Good friend. Sergeant Revelis, about how far away from Houston is
The New Waverly School District, or New Waverly.
It's about an hour's drive, probably from the northern part of Harris County to New Waverly.
So it's a little ways up.
It's a ways up.
Okay. And clearly Eric wasn't in New Waverly, Texas when you stopped him in Houston, right?
Correct.
Okay. But it's certainly within a very reasonable drive to get to New Waverly, isn't it?
Right.
And you were a little bit confused on the time as that you saw him.
A little bit.
But are you confused in the least little bit that you told Eric Campbell to stay away from his father?
Not confused about that.
I have no further questions.
Thanks, sir. Nice being there.
Yes, Your Honor, I think he's ready to go back to Texas.
Thanks, sir. For them?
Yes, Your Honor. The state would call Robert Reese.
Please place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Raise your right. Do you solemnly swear that evidence you should report in the jury should be true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you state your name for the record?
It is Robert Charles Reese.
And Mr. Reese, where do you work?
I work for the Home Depot out of Charlotte, North Carolina, District 136. I serve 13 stores between Asheville, North Carolina, and Seneca, South Carolina.
Would you serve stores such as in Greenville and South Carolina and Spartanburg?
Affirmative. Those are all my responsibilities.
And with respect to the store in Greenville, is there one at 79 Woodruff Industrial Lane?
Affirmative. That is our Greenville City store.
Okay. Now, can you tell us about what is your actual job title with Home Depot?
I'm the Asset Protection Manager over the Greenville, North Carolina area. I'm responsible for internal and external theft and fraud, along with safety and regulatory compliance.
Okay. Now, as a part of that, did you mention you have some responsibility for like inventory control?
Affirmative.
Okay. And also, do you maintain a video security system?
We do. Every store has a video system.
Okay. And did you get involved in this case somehow? Were you contacted about this case in particular?
Yes, I was contacted by an investigator out of Greenville City, and he asked me if there'd be any video evidence from a receipt that he recovered. I asked the investigator to send me over the receipt information, and I would see what I could find.
Now, a receipt, what is that exactly? You're talking about a proof of purchase?
Proof of purchase, yes. Anytime a purchase is made at a Home Depot, a receipt is given to the customer.
Okay. And that receipt given to the customer, it has some information on it?
Correct. It has the store's address, it has the store's number, it has the register number, it has the transaction number, it has the date and the time.
And with respect to the time, it gives you roughly down to a minute or so?
The receipt given to the customer does go down to the minute. In my software, I get down to the second.
Okay. And when you say your software, you maintain some software that keeps up with all these receipts?
Correct. When I pull up the video, it actually goes by seconds. So I can view 43 minutes and 10 seconds where the receipt would say just 10:43.
Right. So, in a sense, this receipt acts as kind of a pin drop to let you know when you would want to
definitely.
look at video.
Within 59 seconds, it's exact.
Okay. Now, did you bring a copy of the electronic receipt associated with this?
I brought a copy, yes, sir.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
156.
Sir, I'm handing you a document that's been marked as State's Exhibit 156. Do you recognize it?
Very clearly I do.
Okay, and how do you recognize it?
I have seen this receipt before. I have printed this receipt before. I have emailed this receipt to the investigator in Greenville County.
And are receipts kept in the normal, is this kept in the normal course of your business?
It is.
All right,
And
and
it
it's
has to be
maintained-
for electronic journal is kept on every transaction every day, whether it's a sale, an exchange, or void.
Is it in the same or substantially similar condition as when you printed it? Been
Definitely.
altered in any way?
It has not been altered. It is
And-
exactly as it was when I printed it on the 15th of January, 2015.
And how do you know what time to print it?
It's on the upper right-hand corner of the receipt. In other words, the transaction date is on the receipt, but when you print it off of my system, it also stamps the date that it was printed.
Your Honor, we'd ask that item number 156 be admitted into evidence for subsequent purposes. Your Honor, I'm going to ask to publish that to the jury. Now approach. Your Honor, we can do it electronically as well.
That's fine.
Okay, sorry. Clerk's gonna need that. Your Honor, excuse me, Mr. Reese, can you approach the TV there?
Sure.
All right. Now, what type of information is about the items that they purchased? What can you tell?
Okay, well, every cashier, everything that they scan, any product at the Home Depot has a 12-digit universal product code. So when they scan it, first thing you'll see is the universal product code, then a short description, then a letter for its return policy. The A means you can return within 90 days for the full refund to where you purchased it, and then it has a short description. So if there is a UPC, the product was there and it was physically scanned.
Okay, and so is there any way to defeat that system? I mean, when you say it was scanned, what exactly happened then?
Okay, well, a laser scans the barcode, and that electronically feeds the POS register, which creates a electronic journal receipt. So there is no way to defeat it. The only other way to enter an item into the POS point of sale system at Home Depot is to manually enter a SKU, a stock keeping unit. That's a 6 to a 9-digit number. Say the UPC on a product was obscured, melted off, written over, and they couldn't scan it. They could still enter it by entering the product SKU, and then the SKU number would be a receipt as opposed to the UPC.
So, with respect to that, can you look and see, for instance, did this person who purchased at this time, did they purchase hair grease and drain opener? Yes.
Yes, the cashier scanned that into the system, and then scanned it again, because there's no quantity key mentioned. So the person buying this bought 2 of those drain openers at $10.98 each.
Okay. And what else did they buy?
They bought a whole You can see for yourself on the mirror, it started with a handheld sprayer, a twin package only cellular of myriad gases, a very corrosive chemical, handy link chain, standard chain, embers lighter fluid, accelerant. Okay, I've 2 bottles, 2-liter bottles of the hair and grease strain opener, a padlock, and it looks like some hardware, jam nuts, and U-posts.
Okay. You could have a seat. If I could retrieve 156.
Yes. Mr. Reese, I'm approaching back with 156, which has previously been marked into evidence.
Yes, sir.
Are you able to match a specific product to the receipt with the UPC?
Oh, definitely. Every product has to have a specific universal price code.
And would a UPC appear on the product?
Yes, it will.
Yes. Mr. Reese, I'm approaching with an item marked as States Exhibit 157. Can you take a moment and examine it?
Face value looks familiar. Judging by the last 6 digits of the UPC 197007, this is a item that was purchased on 12/28/14 at my Home Depot in the city of Greenville.
Is it similar to that?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And do you recognize it because of the UPC?
I do.
And is it a product that Home Depot sells?
We do resell many drain openers. Luckily, I started in the plumbing department, and this is one of our better sellers.
Okay. And does it appear to be unaltered as far as you can tell?
It has not been altered. Glad it's in a bag because it is corrosive.
Okay. And is that how it would be sold at a Home Depot store?
Yes, it would be exactly this way.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask that 157 be admitted into evidence.
Yes, yes. We've taken this often for illustrative purposes. Understanding is that doesn't have any side of this case.
We'll offer it for illustrative purposes at this point.
For that limited purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, this drain product was offered and introduced in evidence case for the purpose of illustrating and explaining the testimony of this witness may not be used to consider value for any other purpose.
Mr. Reese, that is clearly not the same bottle of drain cleaner that was purchased on that day. Is that correct?
Unless it was retrieved after the sale, which strongly doubt it from the video they left. And so I would say this is a duplicate of what was purchased.
When duplicate, you mean it's the same type?
Correct.
It's the same
Same
product,
type, same UPC, meaning it's the same exact formulation,
but not the same bottle.
not the same bottle.
And as a matter of fact, they purchased 2 bottles on that day.
They
Is that
did.
right?
They did.
Mr. Reese, you mentioned earlier that you operate a video security system for Home Depot.
I do.
And you were contacted by someone from the Greenville Police Department about a transaction that occurred.
I was.
And as a result of that, did you go and seek a particular amount of video data?
I'm sorry, say again?
Did you go seek or look through your video system?
I did. I looked for the video and recovered it and informed the investigator.
May I approach?
Yes.
Based on knowing when this particular transaction of interest took place, did you go about searching your video security system?
I did, and I recorded the video I found from, luckily, 3 different angles, 3 different cameras, onto this CD. It is a DVD-R, not an RW, so I know that's what we use, our system will accept, and also it is my distinctive handwriting on it, labeled Home Depot, Woodruff Road.
All right, now I've got to ask you a couple other additional questions. As far as you knew, on December 28th, was this video system operating properly?
Yes, it was.
And that CD, you recognize it?
I do.
And it's got your writing on it?
Affirmative.
And the initials that are written on there, do you recognize them?
Yes, those were the initials when I handed over to the investigator, along with the P&E form.
Okay, and does it appear altered or changed in any way?
It has not been.
Okay. And have you had an opportunity to view this video footage that you placed on this CD?
I have.
And you're familiar with it?
I am.
Was this video recording edited except as to capture the amount of time that was the transaction of interest?
It was not edited in any way. I just chose the beginning and end times.
Okay. And is this the same video recording that was made by this system on December 28th of 2014?
Yes, sir.
At 7:43 p.m. All right, Your Honor, we would move State's Exhibit 158 into evidence for illustrative purposes.
Okay. No, sir. No.
I approach.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we ask for permission to publish to the jury.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Reese, if you could turn to the screen, do you recognize that?
I do. That is the cashier whose name is on the top of the receipt, and he is standing right in front of Register 3, across from our pro desk, near our contractor exit. It looks like he's waiting for a customer.
All right, and so this video is ready to play. Is that right?
Should be.
Okay.
And here are the 2 subjects based on the time of the receipt.
Okay. And Mr. Reese, we need to let the video just play, and I'll ask you a question in a minute if I need to. Mr. Reese, now that he's stopped moving, is that because that's the end of the time that you captured for this video?
Correct. After the subjects had left, I stopped recording.
Okay, and you mentioned you captured it from a couple different angles.
3 total.
All right. Would this be one of the other angles you captured it from?
Affirmative. That's the pro desk angle.
Is this the third angle that you were able to capture, Mr. Reese?
Yes, that's the third and final angle, and that's the contractor register.
Ms. Reese, is that the extent of the video captures that you made relative to this case?
Yes, it is.
May I approach?
Yes.
Mr. Reese, I'm handing you something that object that's been marked as State's Exhibit number 159. Would you take a moment and see if you recognize it or could identify it for us?
Okay, it is on what we call Home Depot journal roll. The roll comes embossed with the Home Depot logo on the back. And this appears to be the original receipt from Register 3 on the date and time mentioned. If this was a duplicate, it would say it was a duplicate, and it does not. And the date, the transaction number, the time, the cashier, products purchased, everything is down to the penny.
Your Honor, we don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Reed.
Good afternoon.
Now, there were 3 different angles that were shown here today. Are those the only 3 cameras at this particular store in South Carolina?
They are more cameras than just the 3.
Would there be a camera that gets the parking lot?
We do have 2 cameras outside on the parking lot and 1 under the contractor entrance.
And are there also cameras that show the different aisles?
In certain instances, not in all.
Were you asked to look for the other videos related to these 2 people's time in the store, such as them parking their car, walking in, or walking through the store?
Oh, definitely. The investigator asked me for any time. I had them entering the store, exiting the store, what they were driving, what they left in. Unfortunately, my parking lot cameras are really close to the store to protect the product that is stored outside overnight on a front apron, and that video is not available.
I see. So you did look for those things, but these were the only videos you could find that as far as you could tell, had these 2 people in.
Affirmative.
Now, in the video, there were 2 people that were at the register in addition to the Home Depot employee, who I think is named Jack. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that's what you saw in the video. There was 2 people as well as the Home
The
Depot
cashier.
employee. And one of those people looked older than the other one, didn't
Appeared to be.
And that was the one that was wearing a sweater that kind of had, or some kind of outfit that had stripes across it.
Yes, one of the subjects had a striped sweater.
And that was the person who was pushing the cart as they approached the register, wasn't it?
Correct.
And that's the person that you can see in the video pull out
I object, Your Honor. This speaks for itself.
And that was the person that in the video you can see pull out a wallet and pay for the items. Is that what you saw?
Yes, it is.
And during the video, that person was moving around quite a bit, wasn't he?
Not any more than normal.
Well, he was moving more than the other 2 people in the video, wasn't he?
No.
And the cameras don't record sound, do they?
They do not.
So if he was talking a lot as he moved, the cameras wouldn't have picked that up.
Unfortunately, no.
And then after the transaction was over, that person in the striped outfit was the one that pushed the cart out of the store, wasn't it?
Correct. He followed the other gentleman out.
Come in, approach, man.
Yes.
And just to be clear, I'm directing your attention to State's Exhibit 157. You read the UPC on this. and found that it was the same type of item that was in the receipt. Is that correct?
Same UPC on this item is the same UPC on the receipt.
Thank you, Mr. Reese.
Your record.
No, Your Honor. Many thanks for really receiving Mr. Reese.
Yes, sir.
We ask that he release Mr.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes.
This was quite a, we got some stuff
I can
up
approach
here.
and retrieve a couple of witnesses and make some
We'll take our lunch recess today. Ladies, we're going to take our lunch recess at this point. During our lunch recess period, you need not to talk among yourselves about this case. You did not talk to the parties, the witnesses, or the lawyers about anything at all. Further, you did not talk to anyone else or anyone else to talk with you to say anything in your presence about this case. If you want to communicate with me in any way, in fashion, the sheriff will ask you to come in.